weirdness, y'all. Got some weirdness for you today. We're going to be making a stir fry, but with watermelon and a little bit of a salad. I know stir fry is pretty basic, but it's not about the stir fry. It's about using the watermelon rind, which too many people don't use that often. So nerd out with me for a little bit and let's see how to use this. I'm excited. All right, let's get to it. So I'll be serving this with some quinoa. So first I'm gonna get that going. It's just 1 cup of quinoa. I've already have this rinsed. I rinsed in some cold water till it came out a little clear and runny. The water came out clear. So I'm gonna add my quinoa. Some water. Like I said, that's 1 cup of quinoa and 2 cups of water. Then I'm gonna add a little salt. Just a little bit. Once this comes up to a boil, I'm gonna turn the heat down, let it simmer, then cap it for about 15 minutes, and I'll let it rest until the stir fry and salad are done. So, let's do this. It's working. All right, not yet. Okay, good. Sweet. All right, and this watermelon. So the rind is pretty thick. You have this green right here. This section is a little bit rough, so we don't want to eat that. But right here, this white part, that's what we're going for. So I'm gonna peel some of this off. I find it a bit easier to peel it while the flesh is still in there, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Watermelon is something that I ate when I was younger. I've had it pickled in the South. This isn't very easy to peel. It's a bit better if you go towards away from yourself. But typically people will see, like, you'll see pickled watermelon rind, which is really great. Goes well with a lot of like fried dishes and whatnot. But you can pretty much put it in a stir fry. You can eat it raw and have it in a salad. So we're gonna saute some and then we're gonna put some in a salad. I think it has a texture of kohlrabi, if you've ever had that. Also like a little like potatoey, carroty, like not in flavor. It still tastes like it's in the cucurbit family. So that's your cucumber, your melons, all your melons, honeydews, cantaloupe. But yeah, so just watch me struggle through this. I'm telling you, it's worth the trouble. Just believe me. Believe me. All right. So our quinoa has come up to a boil. We're getting that heat down pretty low. So induction burners work pretty fast. Some fancy stuff. Now we're just gonna cap it and let it do its thing for the next 15 minutes. If you're not so good at keeping track of time while you're cooking, setting timers on your cell phone are a great way to handle that. I'm gonna stop the peeling to about here because that's all the melon I need, I think. Maybe I should finish it. I'm gonna finish it, just in case. So this melon came from the Rolling Thunder Hoop House at D-Town, and we got these melons. It was my intention to plant watermelon in the Rolling Thunder Hoop House, but what ended up happening is I dropped some seeds in the middle of the hoop house, and it wasn't an intentional planting because I wanted to plant it in rows and trellis the melons up. And, you know, have them grow that way, but they just kind of being scattered about, and we got some pretty large melons. This is a small one, but we got some good ones. The colors range from orange, yellow, and red to like a very soft pink. So it's just a mix of different ones. This side is a little gnarly. All right, that wasn't that bad. Okay. Let me. Always gotta clean. Alright, so I just cut this down the center. Just gives you a nice wedge of watermelon right there. I'm going to set one of these right behind me, just to give myself some space. The salad will have some of the flesh in there, so we're just going to remove this flesh and put it into our bowl that's going to have salad in it. So just cut along the rib here. It's best to cut away from yourself, not towards yourself, to make sure you don't cut yourself. That's important. Nobody wants to get hurt. And just run your knife. And you get this nice little chunk of flesh. And this is what's remaining on here. It's a little juicy. And I'm just going to shave this last little bit off. Now, as you're doing this is going to make a big mess, of course, because watermelon holds a lot of water, given the water is in its name. But it's going to be delicious. All right. So this flesh, I'm just going to rough chop it real quick. Have a bowl right here. Just put that back up front. Alright. Give this a quick dice. I like to leave it chunky, and I'm gonna leave the seeds in there. I don't mind the seeds, but if you have an issue with the seeds, you can run a fork through there and just take them out pretty easily. I actually have a fork right here. So if you're just to run your fork down here, just kind of graze them out, they'll come out pretty easy if you're not a fan of the seeds. Melon in the bowl. Grab some to the side. I'm not going to worry about the flesh being on this rind too much. Since we're going to cook it anyway, it's going to be savory. It's not going to impact the flavor of the stir fry. I like to square mine off, so this little peak that's right here, I'm just going to cut that off and discard it. You definitely don't have to do that. You can still eat it, but I like the way it looks. All right. So you just break it down into smaller sections like this. It's pretty easy. And then I'm gonna do like, I'd say probably 1/4 inch thick slices. And I'm gonna go through, I'll go through these again. So I'm gonna slice again down here. So I'll show you that in a sec, what I mean by that. This doesn't have to be super precise. It's not important at all. It's the ingredients. It's as long as it's not like super thick, then this will cook properly. And we're just doing a little bit here. So I'm just gonna go down the center of those cuts just one time. That I did. That can stay. Alright, so that's how our watermelon's looking. It's pretty good. Clean that. Alright, so we're using this one for the stir fry. For now, I'm going to set this aside. Let's check out our quinoa, make sure that's not doing anything crazy. So yeah, quinoa's still looking good. So I'm just going to let that finish out, let that phase out, turn it down a little more. And then the rest of this for this salad, might as well process this. So I'm just going to do thin shave, and I'm not going to worry about that. Well, let me try it first. That's the key. Actually, that's okay at that thickness. So I'm just going to slice it. It's about how thick this is. Compare it to my knife. It's not straight at all. So like I said, don't worry about being precise. So I'd be curious if anyone has any watermelon riding recipes from their family that you've cooked in the past. I'd be curious to hear some stories if you ever want to come out to the farm and chat with me about that. But yeah, all right. So we got flesh and rind in the bowl for our salad right here, and then we have watermelon rind for our stir fry. I'm gonna put this here. These are some purple pod Royal Burgundy green beans from our farm at D-Town. So with these, like, they won't stay purple. I think sometimes people get weirded out by vegetables that aren't necessarily what we've grown up to see. But these, they turn green once the heat hits them. And then we have some Anaheim chilies, some green bell peppers that I've already seeded, and then some jalapenos. Look at that these cool check marks right here. I really love when it gets like that and when the jalapenos are red. Loads of flavor. And then these microgreens here are going to be for the salad. And then more for the stir fry. We have some leeks that are here from the farm, as well as some collard greens that got some love by some cabbage moths. Check that out. Making Halloween faces. All right, and then we have some red onions here. I'm gonna put these into the salad. Not all of these, so don't be worried. And then there's some ginger and garlic going into the stir fry. And I will show you how to thicken that up. So let's get our ingredients that are gonna take a little bit longer to cook. Let's get those prepped up first. So we already have our watermelon rind going. That's great. And now I'm going to process these leeks. I'm just going to cut the tops off here a little bit. And then I like to cut these on a bias. It's just kind of a slanted cut. Again, we're not looking for perfection, we're looking for flavor, which is perfection in its own right, depending on how you cook. And I know if you're watching this, you can cook a little something. That out. So we have our leeks. We'll break those up a little bit. Alright. I'm going to cut these green beans. I'm also going to cut these on a bias. Some of these have a little bit of a stem on them. Just a quick cleanup, get the string out. And it's okay to use, you don't have to cut the green beans, you can use them whole. I just like to chop them a little bit. I like the look. So it really depends on what you're going for. But yeah, you can make this what you want. Combine that with these leeks, kind of push them off to the side. Got some of these chilies. I think I'm just going to do one, and then I'm going to do about, it's like 3/4 of a bell pepper, one jalapeno, and then one Anaheim chili. We're going to cut the peppers into strips. The pepper is going to be one of the last things that we add in there because I like the crunch to it. I'm not really a fan of mushy peppers. But if that is your thing, go for it. Do whatever makes you happy. Alright. I like cutting these into rings, pepper rings. I like the way it looks. Pepper action. It's jalapeno. I have a little rule with myself since I like spicy. I only ever take out the ribs and seeds on 1/2 of the jalapeno, and I chop the rest because that's how spicy I like it. Now, if you're not a fan of that spice, definitely take them out on both sides. But if you want more spice, leave it all in there. It's good stuff. It's good for you. So I cut this into strips. And then I'm gonna small dice it the other way. So a little turn. And then I'll give it a small dice. Right, and I'm just gonna leave my ingredients here on the board. A little messy, but yeah, it's good. I think we are good to go, except for the greens. I almost forgot about that, but we'll cut that last. You can even like tear those leaves. So after the peppers, it'll be the collard greens that go in here. So let's get going. I'm gonna wipe my hands real quick. So I have here some sunflower seed oil. This is just to get your veg cooking a little bit. And then right here, there's some toasted sesame oil. I like to finish stir fries or whatever. I'm using sesame oil, and when I want that flavor, I like to finish with just a couple of teaspoons of this. Not a lot. And then there's coconut aminos. And that's going to be our salt component of this stir fry. So I'm going to add a little bit. Grab my tongs and another roll. All right. So here goes. Add a little bit of some sunflower oil. Actually, need to get my heat up. I've had this pan on, but it's been on low while I've ramped up, getting ready for this. Alright. Add to the side. And you want to let this get a little bit hot until your oil gets a little bit more like flowy, runny. And yeah, we'll see that a little more. That quinoa, it's looking great. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut that off. We're just gonna let that sit until we're done with our stir fry. All right, see that oil's getting a little runny now. Turn the heat up a little more. So what's going to be happening here is that we're going to saute these veg separately, and then we're going to saute all the veg, no aromatics added to it other than the leeks. And then we're going to, after all of that's done, we're going to make a quick little sauce with some ginger and garlic, this coconut aminos, and then a little bit of sugar, and that's going to give us like a little bit of glazy sauce. And then we have some arrowroot slurry right here. It's just arrowroot powder and water mixed together. This is a thickener. You can also use cornstarch or potato starch for this, and also tapioca starch. We'll add that at the very end. All right, so our pan is hot enough. So I like to add my onions first. So my leeks. Actually use a little more heat. You just let it chill a little bit. letting these cook down a little bit, not too much, just a couple seconds. Just want to soften these up. It's like once they start to turn, like that light, like high green right there, like that's about when I'm happy. And then I'm gonna add in my watermelon. And at this point, since I'm on this induction burner, I have my heat as high as it'll go. Let that do its thing for a while. And the watermelon line, we're not looking for it to like be cooked all the way through, like when you bite through it, that it will be super soft. Like I want a little bit of bite to it. Those textures in stir fry is like one of my favorite things when the vegetables still has some crunch to it. And that means those vegetables have still have those nutrients, even though this is a fruit right now. Actually, most of this fruit, except for the leeks. But yeah, peppers, fruit, all of it. So let's let this cook a little more. There's no seasoning in here right now. It's just the watermelon rind and the leeks. Okay, now I'm going to add in these green beans. I chopped up, and there's still some leeks left in there. It'll still be fine. So we're just going to add all of this in. Give that a little stir. And you'll be able to see as these green beans are heating up, they start to lose that purple color. And I'll try to pull one up for you. See, this one here is starting to get a little gray, transitioning into green. All right, now I'm going to add peppers. And I'm going to add all of those that I chopped up, including the jalapenos. And drop it completely. Caught it. All right. Now in the winter, I usually put dry chilies in my stir fries, but this is what we have available at D-Town. There's a lot of fresh peppers, so if there's fresh peppers around, I'm gonna use them. Not that one is better than the other. It's just like, why not? Still giving me that spice, and that fruity, the fruitiness of the pepper is a bit more dominant in fresher vegetables, and I love that. So colors are starting to look pretty good here. You know, and it doesn't look weird or anything like that to me. If you told someone that there was watermelon rind in here, they'd be like, where? What's watermelon rind? So I'm gonna let that cook a little more. Now, it's collard greens. Let's get these chopped up. So there's some stem in here. I'm gonna leave it. I don't mind it. It adds a little bit of texture. I'm just gonna cut this into strips. 3 is good. And this is about 4 or 5 leaves that I have here. Another strip. And like it doesn't have to be any precise cut, but we're just gonna add that right there. Lightly cook this. So once these greens cook down, I'm gonna put this vegetable medley in this bowl right here, set that to the side, and then start making our sauce in the same pan, and then we'll toss the veg in that. Burners off. So just put right down. So that's good enough right there. You just put this in this bowl. And just use my hand to get the rest of this out. Yes, this is hot, but I still have chef fingers, and yeah, that just means I'm missing some nerves at my tips, which is all right, I think. It's kind of a superpower. All right, so let's get this sauce going. Some coconut aminos. I'm not gonna add that in yet, so I'm just gonna take the cap off. Set our veg right here. Add myself a fork from earlier. While that's getting nice and hot, I'm gonna chop these red onions real quick for this salad. I like to do a julienne cut. Cut the onion in half, and then you just take out this little root part right here. I come in on the slant so that you leave that. And it doesn't have to be heavy on the onion, pretty mild. I'm really trying to celebrate the watermelon and not the red onion. All right, our skillet's hot enough. Salad closer. Again, I'm going to start off with a little sunflower oil. That's pretty hot. Then we're going to add this ginger. All this garlic. So there's probably about two tablespoons of each, garlic and ginger. Now with this, we're not trying to get it brown or any color on it. We just want to just cook it for a few minutes, soften it a little bit, have it be aromatic. So let that go. Sesame oil here on the side, and I'm gonna rinse. A thing to know about the slurry is if you let it sit for like a few seconds, it will separate, so you'll have to mix it again once you're ready to use it. I'm gonna mix it right now, and then right before we use it. Really smelling that ginger right now. It's super fragrant, mixing in with with that garlic. It smells great. And it's cooking, like it's kind of just taking that sharpness out of the garlic and the ginger. I'm not so worried about it in the ginger. I like my ginger sharp, but I do appreciate when the garlic's a little bit more mild. But yeah, whatever you're going for, that's just cook to your liking. All right. I'm gonna add a little bit of sesame oil. Just a little bit. That was probably a tablespoon. Maybe that doesn't sound like a little bit. That's a little bit for me. All right. All right, smelling pretty good here. Then I'm going to add this sugar. My goal here is to add, to get this in the pan, to caramelize it just a little bit, and then we're going to add the coconut aminos. I think we're going to add about a 1/4 cup of the coconut aminos. Alright, so you take a look, it's starting to bubble a little bit. Do not stick your finger in here. When sugar is boiling, it's at wicked hot temperatures, like really hot. So don't do it. Now when I add this coconut aminos, it's going to expand a little bit, kind of like get that boiling over effect. Do not be scared of that. But yeah, so it's not too caramely yet, you know. So I'm going to let it go just a little longer. Just a little longer. Let's do this. So while that's caramelizing, let's go back to our salad. So I think I'm actually going to get a separate bowl for this, just so I can mix it. So I'm going to keep this really simple. Our microgreen mix has some spicy mustards in it and some basil. So yeah, there's like Mizuna red mustards and then the Genovese microgreen basil. So that, I'm not looking for too many aromatics, and we got the onion here, so I wanted like a very mild dressing. Our sugar's starting to get caramel, but I want a very mild dressing, so I'm just gonna add some rice vinegar and then some sesame oil, and that'll be enough flavor. So I'm just gonna pour a little bit of this rice vinegar in there. I will return to that in a sec. Right now, I'm going to return to our sauce here. So take a look at that. See how it's expanding? Let me take this off. So this is the liquid right now. It's pretty runny. And I'm going to add this slurry. Let's get our vegetables back in here. The thing with the slurry is that when you mix it in, you you don't wanna just pour it in and dump it. That will potentially lead to these very like gelatinous lumps in your stir fry, and you probably won't like that. It might turn you off a little bit. But you know, some people like it. It's like having a piece of I guess gelatin or tendon in there. But we're just gonna put a couple tablespoons. No, just like 1 tablespoon. And this is gonna start to thicken this mixture up. I just use it with a fork. If you got a whisk, go for it, use it. All right, so this is starting to thicken up. I don't know if you can see that, but it's not the runny sauce that it was just a moment ago. It's more of a glaze. So I'm gonna let this cook for a few minutes, and then I'm gonna lightly toss the vegetables back in there. And then that'll be pretty much it for this dish. So yep, going ahead, put the veg in there. Our watermelon rind stir fry with green beans and collards and peppers. I'm just gonna rotate. Just gonna toss that in the veg, in that sauce. And it's just gonna cling to these vegetables and fruit a little bit. The heat on that. And there you go. That's our watermelon stir fry. I'll plate it up for you in a sec here after this salad. So I just have some rice vinegar in here. And so I got rice vinegar. I'm going to add a little bit of sesame, just a small amount. And I'm going to put the onions in there. And the reason I'm putting the onions in there is like I want to bruise them up a little bit. That's all I'm going to put. So that's about the amount of onions that I have in here. Okay. Take these very cute tongs and just coat that a little bit in there. I'm going to add some salt. There's no salt in here. So right here I have some Himalayan pink salt. I'm not just adding salt for the onions. I'm really thinking about the watermelon, the rind and the flesh too. If you've never had salt on your watermelon, I highly recommend it. It's been one of my favorite things since childhood. So yep, we're gonna take some of the rind and the flesh, put it in here. Super simple. And you can tweak these recipes to whatever you need them to be, whatever you want them to be, what you think would taste best. Just be very gentle, not to really break up that watermelon too much. And then I'm gonna add some microgreens. And again, that's with the basil and the mustards, the variety of mustards. So let's plate it up. We have our quinoa here. You see this came out nice and fluffy. That's our 1 cup of quinoa rinsed, thoroughly rinsed, and then with 2 cups of water. That's a pretty good texture, and we'll let it cook for about 15 minutes. So we'll take a little bit of that. Seems like plenty. And then we're going to take some of this veg. I'm going to toss it again. Just get a nice coating. So there you have it, some watermelon stir fry with quinoa.